First thing about the business plan is that you've got to have something which is, let's say, a 1 or 2 page summary, and it has to be absolutely crisp and succinct. And it'll probably start off by saying, this is an investment in such and such, one line, and then the next line or paragraph is the credibility statement. It's going after a known gap in the market which we have already identified and started selling to, or just something that somebody looks at and goes, oh, this is interesting. Because there are too many investment proposals going around which are all kind of woolly, and you just have to read too many pages to work out what it is, and investors just can't be bothered. You should have something which can be sent out just as a sort of as the executive summary, and also then the full proposal with the executive summary in the front of it. And what it ought to include is a succinct statement of what the market is, why there's a gap in the market, how much you think you can sell over, let's say, the first 3 years. Anything beyond there is just too unknown, I think, frankly. And then the assumptions on how you're going to go about selling it, the assumptions on which to extract the assumptions on which you're basing your business plan, which says something like, this is how much each widget costs, this is how much each widget will sell for, these are the number of outlets I'm going to sell my widgets for, these are how many widgets on average each outlet's going to sell, this is how it's going to grow. So for the sake of argument, those are the assumptions. And I think it's a really good idea to extract the assumptions and say, these are the assumptions on which I'm basing my business model, and then you take each assumption in turn. I mean, there's no sort of magic formula, but this is the way I do it, because it means it shows that you're thinking really clearly about it, and you are able to get that crispness of thought over to investors, and you say, this is, for each given assumption, this is how I know that my feet are on the ground with assumptions. And then you go off and you do your homework and you find out, for example, how many shops, for sake of argument, sell these sorts of things, and then you get a list of them. You can maybe just, in your appendix you have 300 shops, and you just name each one of them, and then you go to a cross-section of shops, and you talk to the person whose point of view counts, and you get them to say something that means something, or place an order, or place some kind of indicative order, so that you can actually say, and I know these shops are going to stock it because I've spoken to the following people and they've said this. And you go and you say, I know that I can buy these widgets for this because here are 3 quotes from competing manufacturers to do X. So that right the way down, you show that what the assumptions are based on, these assumptions are sound. Clearly you need to write something about the team that's going to deliver it, which is absolutely key, and you need your financials, which are going to be at least your cash flow and your P&L, probably 3 years of balance sheet. You probably don't need to show very detailed financials for your business plan, but have them there to send sort of more detailed figures if people really start to get into it. Right, your proposal is absolutely key. The way that you present yourself in the proposal, that proposal may go around to 50 people from one introduction. So forget about getting up in the morning and putting in your fresh shirt and tie. Your proposal is everything about you and your business and all the people you're representing in it, and perhaps some of the investors have already decided to put some money in. Therefore, I would say keep on. First of all, before you unleash it, speak to people who you respect and get their honest, genuine feedback. Be willing to update the proposal. I always keep a version number so that I've got a record of which investors I've shown proposals to, because you'll always find sort of problems, typos, new ways of expressing things which are more clear and things like that. Just continue to make that proposal as good as you possibly can. I would recommend, if you can, spending a couple £100 on a designer to take it out of something which seems like a DTP package into something which feels really crisp and professional, especially if you're operating in a consumer-based marketplace, because you've got to give somebody the impression that you can flog to a consumer, and that's all about how you present to the consumer. So make sure you show that you are able to present to a consumer by presenting a really good business plan. I just can't express how important it is to do a really, really copper-bottomed proposal which knocks people's socks off. Well, supply the proposal whenever requested. I tend to avoid forcing things down people's throats before they're ready for it. What I find is there are a few points it's worth bringing out in about 5 bullet points in an email that says it's about this, and we've just got an indicative order from Harrods for the sake of argument, and we've already raised 100,000 out of the 250,000 pounds we need, or whatever it is. So you send that to whet people's appetite, and then maybe maybe you say, "I'd be delighted to send you an executive summary or the full proposal if you require." Sometimes you may feel it's worthwhile sending out more first off. But personally, I get approached by a lot of people wanting either my investment or me to help them raise money, and I get a bit overwhelmed by people thinking that what they've got is absolutely wonderful and magnificent, and I tend to think, give somebody a really interesting a taster for it that gets them really excited, and asking you for it rather than you forcing it down people's throats, because that's the relationship you want with people when you're selling to them, basically. I find a lot of proposals are kind of rather woolly, and I just think, when I write business prose, I make sure that I work out what point I've got to make, and I make that in one paragraph, and I don't get to the end of the paragraph without having made the point, or introduce another point in that paragraph. So I think it's a really good idea to be really crisp and precise, and to use lots of headings and subheadings to give somebody a pointer, because they're busy and they don't want to have to struggle through lots of rubbish to work out whether there's a diamond in the rough.